Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about speed matching your DC locomotives. Now I'm working in N scale, but this also works for HO scale. So I ran these together before and one is quite a bit faster than the other. But before I get into that, I want to give you a little bit of theory to begin with. So if you take two engines of the same manufacturer, and the same model and the same year, they should run pretty close to the same speed. But as you can see, the forward one runs just a little bit faster. So what I do, I will run this one just by itself for 2-3 minutes. That's gonna help it warm up, and it'll lower the rolling resistance of all the bearings, so it should match a little bit closer this one here. So I'm going to run it for a little bit, and as you can see now, they run much closer together. So then I could couple them and run my train. I can run a train behind them. It won't affect this because that's what they do. They pull trains. Also, I would put the faster one in the front. That way there's no slack in your couplers. Same with distributed power, I put the slower one in the middle of the train. So these don't run close together. This one is much faster than this one. So what I'm gonna do to match them is I bought the cheapest F40PH I could find on eBay. And this one is going to run either fast or slow. So it will match one of these pretty closely. And I'm going to keep the drive system from this one, plus whichever one of these that matches it closely, and I'll put the Amtrak shell on them, and then I can use them together. So this Caltrain F40 has got a little bit of shell damage, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to just use the drive system, and then I'll probably be keeping it for parts. You never know. It's kind of a neat paint scheme, the Caltrains. I like the stripes on the front. So even though it's not perfect, I'm still going to want to take my time taking it apart. Here, use gravity as your friend. So these, it's always possible one of the wire gets disconnected. So you want to take a look at that when you first got it. Inside it seems to be in real good shape. It's missing a coupler in the front here. You can see the motor is out of whack. It should be pinned down lower. It wants to go there, it just doesn't know that it does. And this wire should be on the side here, so I don't know what happened there. That's kind of funny actually. Yeah, this one too, the same thing. The wires should be on the side, but they are not. I don't think that would keep it from running though. And there's no light, so that I'm gonna say is a little bit strange. I'm not too happy about that. There should be a light in there. I've still got some LEDs left over from my ditch light videos, so I'm gonna throw something together quick here. So not a ton more work than putting an incandescent bulb, but I can see just by bench testing the locomotive. By the way, now it's got directional lighting, but I can see by running it on the bench there that this thing needs a lot of cleaning. So I've got to clean it and reorganize a lot of the wiring. but I know how to do that, so I can do it. So I'm gonna start with my normal cleaning procedure. You cannot remove the truck because it's soldered in there. So while you have it in your hands like that, check your connection. These look good, actually. That's the one good news about this engine. So since you cannot remove the truck from the body, you have to wiggle the side frames around. Give me a bit bigger screwdriver. So just wiggle the side frames, have them go back a little bit, and then over the gearbox. Or here, maybe the other way around, it's going to be easier. Bring the front over the gearbox. And then wiggle this around. And that can go for cleaning. And while you have the gearbox in your hand, one of the little gears is going to fall off. That's okay. That is not a bad thing. There, this little gear is going to fall off. It may as well. Don't fight it. Since I have my side frames in my hand, I'm going to add a coupler. I still run Rapidos. Although these engines are going to be pulling my very nice Cado El Capitan Amtrak. So I did it with a fake knuckle coupler at the front like that. So I'm going to keep the same thing. This one has a fake micro trains in the front. So I'm going to keep this. That's fine. But this one, I'm going to put a Rapido back on it. I've got a lot of parts. I have a little box like this for Rapidos. I have another box like that for micro trains. There, that spring fought me all the way. Does that ever happen to you? Anyways, this is ready. And now I'm gonna pop out my wheels. That way I can clean them. The gears also appear to be very dirty. So I'm gonna see if I can clean them as well. It almost made it to the floor. These contact strips, even though they're really dirty, I just clean them with my fingers. They rub against the wheels, and that makes the electrical contact possible. So they don't need that much cleaning. You can just clean them enough to make them look good, and then that's fine. Actually, these, if you go gently, you can pry them out and it'll come out of the gearbox. And then I can quietly work on my gearbox on the bench. Just nice and easy. You just pry them out. If your aim is just to clean the wheels, you don't need to do this. But I'm gonna be doing every gear inside the gearbox here because it's pretty dirty. Although that makes sense, you know, I'm glad that somebody else got this engine and enjoyed it for a little while. So you can see all my gears. So I'm going to be cleaning these up because I need them to be 100%. It's pretty dirty. That definitely can use a good cleaning. So I'm going to clean them with my toothbrush and some dish soap under my tap. Okay, so we're going to put everything back together. You've got two idlers. You've got one, I guess you could call it a main gear, two spacers, and the two axles. I don't put a ton of lubrication in this because too much lubrication is what draws in all the dust and dog hair. but I put just a drop. Just a little drop. So I'll start with the axles first. And then the two little idlers. And then I'll put on the quote-unquote main gear. And then just half a drop of oil. That's all you need. And then the other side of the gearbox. And that's it. That should be good. Let's see if I can test it with my fingers a little bit. It's pretty tough to grab onto these little axles. What holds the gearbox together is actually the pressure of the wheels. While we're on the subject of the wheels, I better get them clean. So I always use my nails and my rag to get them clean. I find that to be the best method. Although there is a shortcut where you put a piece of Scott towel, I guess, on your track. Then you run half the locomotive over it, while the other half the locomotive will power the engine. There you go, squeaky clean. I only got 4 more to go. Now I can start putting everything back together. I'm going to start by putting the contacts back in their little spot on the gearbox. That takes a little bit of doing, but I can do this. You don't want to pull too hard on them, because then you'll undo the soldering, and then that takes even longer to get it done. I'm gonna do one on camera. I'll probably end up doing the other one off camera because it's a little bit redundant, and you're probably not gonna be interested in seeing me struggle like that. That could get pretty long. It's getting closer. Let me do it off camera so I can concentrate. See, now I told you it was easy. And then I can bring my wheels back in. The contact strips will line up the wheels. Should we get the old micro trains gauge out? May as well. I have all the equipment set up here. So we'll do that. We'll re-gauge the wheel. Still got one more to go. Again, these contact strips, they just line up on their own. Now I'm going to get my microtrains gauge out. You can gauge the height of your microtrains couplers, and there's also a side for the track and a side for the wheels. So I'm going to want it to be just a little bit narrower. So there. Perfect. So I can bring my my side frames back on. So it's the same thing, I wiggle them around. Till I can get them on the other side. That too, you need a little bit of patience to get that done. And then we're on our way. That looks awesome. I can bring my little gear that goes here with its axle. So that goes right back in here, like so. And then if you have problems lining it up, you can play with it with the wheels a little bit. So you can line up your axle properly here. See, there we go. And then the axle, I will take just a little bit of oil on it, just a drop. I'll just start the first part, then I'll put oil on it. And then I'll keep pressing it in. You can do it with your nail. So that should be cool. And then the worm gear, I do it like so. Just from the top there. It's still got the factory lube. And it's not too dirty. So I won't go nuts with the lubrication, just a drop. And then I put the cover back on. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. And then we can go try it on the track. Oh, and I almost forgot. This wire should be on the other side of the axle. How I'm going to do it, I'm just going to remove the worm gear. You do it from here like that. Just going to remove this, and I'll put the wire on the other side. So I just wiggle it around, just pass it through here, and that keeps it out of your body when you're putting the shell back on. Okay, so I managed all my wires. Now I can bring the shell back on. I also took a minute to repair the snowplow. So as you put the shell back on, be careful to put your coupler through it. And that should just snap back in there. Now I can compare them together. So I've got my three F40s. And I compare them together, and I can keep the two closer one together. So I've got them now where they're very closely matched together. So that is going to be a nice set that can run together with no interference. And then the front one runs much faster. Now I can just switch out the shells, and then I'm good to go. I'm really enjoying how that LED worked out. I'm going to be keeping that one for sure in the front. That was a good thing, a good coincidence. Perfect. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.